ceasefire. The president did not offer details about the planned attack. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 159 points. The Nasdaq dropped 134. The S&P 500 lower by 5 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hey, I'm Kirk Cameron. Is health insurance eating up your budget for 2026? If you're looking for ways to better steward your finances, consider this: Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's a health insurance alternative at half the cost. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. While insurance companies tell you when to join, what to pay, and where to go, CHM is different. As a ministry, CHM allows you to share the burden of medical bills with other Christians. You can enroll, switch programs, or leave at any time. Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's a world of difference. CHM has 4 flexible programs. You can pick any certified doctor, surgeon, or hospital that you want for eligible care. So make the switch. Take your paycheck back from health insurance this year. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
NextEra Energy is seeking to acquire Dominion Energy in an all-stock deal valued at about $67 billion. Bob Agnew reports.
The deal is one of the biggest proposed mergers so far this year. It would create the world's biggest regulated electric utility business by market capitalization. The proposed deal comes even as the energy needs of artificial intelligence drive demand higher across the country. The combined company would serve approximately 10 million utility customers across Florida, Virginia, in both North and South Carolina. Bob Agnew reporting.
Commuters are navigating a maze of car, bus, and subway routes after a strike shut down the Long Island Railroad in New York. Negotiators failed to reach a deal in time for service to resume Monday morning, leaving 250,000 commuters to scramble for alternatives to using North America's largest commuter rail system. News and analysis at townhall.com.
This program is brought to you in part by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals.
Call 281-441-4179.
Checkapro Joe here. Don't miss the Checkapro Radio Show, your trusted source for home service pros. This week, we're featuring Bel Air Air Conditioning, keeping Houston cool and comfortable. Tune in every Friday at 11 a.m., right here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
Now more than ever, Texas energy security is national security. That's why Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick have endorsed Jim Wright's re-election to Railroad Commissioner. Jim Wright understands how important Texas energy is to make sure we keep America first. Jim Wright is focused on making sure hostile foreign nations can never have direct ownership or indirect influence on Texas energy. And he's not stopping there. Jim Wright will keep radical militant Islamists out of Texas energy, protecting our infrastructure and our future. Look at Jim Wright's results. Record oil revenues topping $6 billion, fueling our economy. Jim Wright knows energy independence is national security, keeping Texas strong and America secure. He'll always stand firm for Texas. Jim Wright, protecting Texas energy, securing America's future. Re-elect Jim Wright for Railroad Commissioner. Election Day is May 26th. Political ad paid for by Texas Now PAC.
Where should I begin?
Can we talk about this?
Say, what are you trying to say?
Beyond the usual controversial talk.
Blah, 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 on and on and on.
Over there.
One, two, cha-cha-cha. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha.
Prepare yourself for Craig.
Okay.
Preparing a mighty new spectacle here.
Articulate, stimulating, hit you right in the... there you go.
We start becoming a team right now.
This is the Craig Collins Show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God, no.
Start talking. Talk fast.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Now your host.
He's a good man.
Craig.
That's right. It is the Craig Collins Show. KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. Thrilled to be with you. A bunch of stuff out there to talk about. I always do this now. I mention other places that you can hear me. I was on 3 Martini Lunch. It is a podcast that a guy from the National Review, Jim Garrity, and then another guy who works with me at another place. His name is Greg Columbus. They host that thing. I fill in occasionally on it. It was a bunch of fun. I specifically recommend that you listen to this episode because one of the topics that came up was Cornyn and Paxton and what Texans think. I love that I've been here for a short amount of time, and in some places, I already get to be asked questions because, darn it, I'm a Texan now. That's something that's uniquely exciting to me for a variety of reasons, but mostly because I think that I got it right. And you can call in, you can tell me if you think I got it wrong. But what I said to one of the two guys who normally host that show is that electing Cornyn, even just to be the nominee for the Republican Party, will feel like a slap in the face to a lot of Texas voters, a lot of conservative voters, a lot of people who would have no understanding as to why that's a thing that were happening. People that would look at this information and say, what in God's green earth are you choosing to do here? Why are you choosing to do this, et cetera, et cetera? I just feel like that's the kind of thing that we obviously don't want to see for a variety of reasons. And so Paxton is the obvious choice because he's not the choice that screams the political same thing as always. You're getting exactly what you've seen in the past, and it might be uniquely terrible, and oh, well, too bad for you. That's basically what I said, is that I will be surprised if Paxton doesn't win the runoff, and I will be surprised, actually, if Paxton doesn't defeat Talarico in the, I'm stealing that from my cousin, in the actual election, the midterm election that takes place in November, because darn it, it's still Texas. Now, there's two things I should say quickly before I get to any audio in response to that kind of stuff and what goes on here in this state. The first one, and I've seen this a lot of places, is the concern that the electorate has changed, that a lot of people have moved from places like California, or in my case, Illinois, and a lot of them brought their liberal politics with them. I did not. I actually ran away from the liberal idiots in those places to run to the wonderful comfort of a Houston and of a Texas. I should definitely not include Houston in that bubble, but Texas as a whole, yes, absolutely deserves to be included in said bubble. But nonetheless, as I say that, what I think is kind of obvious to a lot of people is that Texas couldn't possibly elect a James Talarico just a short time ago. So I don't necessarily believe they could do it now. I don't see that as a possibility, and I think Texas will prove all the pundits, all the people out there who think this will actually be a close race, that they're wrong, that it might not be a resounding thumping, but no matter who it is, whether it's Cornyn or Paxton, I think they would beat Talarico. So that's not the fight. The fight isn't find the person who's best suited to take on the crazy. It's find the person who's best suited to represent your values now. And so I guess that's the other position that matters a whole lot, and people are talking about turnout. You hear the Amigos, you heard Chris X. Pretty much everybody is discussing turnout. The only way that Cornyn is actually the nominee, and it's not Paxton, with the amount of Texans I talk to who are uniquely annoyed at everything that Cornyn has done, all the times that he's failed them, the only way that I see him actually succeeding, and all the polls seem to back this up, is if almost nobody shows up. And actually, and this is one of the most important parts of it, all of those groups that Trump did so well with in 2024, if all of them sit out, I think that this could be bad. And then I think that it's even more likely that a lot of those groups who may sit out a runoff might also sit out the midterm election if it actually is a Cornyn who's the nominee. I think that both of those things could happen. Young conservative voters will be disenfranchised by the political sameness of a Cornyn, the rhino kind of stuff that he does, and they just won't vote in a midterm election, I think. Again, I don't think it actually would allow Talarico to win a state like Texas, but nonetheless, I do think it's important. I got a caller ready. We're going to go right to the call. Caller, what's your name?
Yes, sir. I'm calling in today.
Hey, Jimmy X. How you doing, buddy?
All right. Well, man, you're actually talking about a subject that I really would like some discussion around.
Sure.
And that is the runoff for our Senate seat. And I think what happened in Louisiana over the weekend,
yes,
kind of is foretelling. Okay, a 3-term senator didn't even make a primary, a runoff.
Yes.
Okay.
Senator Bill Cassidy. For anyone that's not as informed as Jimmy X, Bill Cassidy lost in a primary. 2 candidates advanced, and he was a longtime senator. Go ahead, continue.
No, and that's how people feel about John Cornyn. You got to understand that there's going to be several new senators. There's going to be a new senator. I believe Paxton's going to win, and it sounds like you and I were in the same boat here a few weeks ago.
I know.
We were both like, I'm
Wesley
just going
Hunt.
to sit it out, man.
Yeah.
I can't vote for either one. But after Saturday, it's kind of given me a little bit of, push. Go ahead and cast the ballot for Paxton.
Yeah.
I still believe, Craig, he's a very flawed candidate.
He is.
And I think he does put the seat at risk. But if he were to win, he would be a much better senator and representative of the people of Texas than John Wayne Cornyn.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, no, let me talk about that for a second, because you were right. Absolutely in the same boat. I was a Wesley Hunt supporter. I was disappointed that Wesley Hunt didn't make the runoff election. I think that had Cornyn not run, Wesley would actually be the one defeating, if Paxton had not run, Wesley would be the one defeating Cornyn in this runoff. I think that would happen. If maybe just outright would have beaten him. I think either candidate, Paxton or Wesley Hunt, would have outright beaten Cornyn if they weren't both running to get to the point where we have the runoff in the first place. And I agree with you, and I know the money matters. I know the average voter might not care about how much money gets donated by people like you and me to help candidates win elections. I understand that. I understand that stuff it's sort of like when I talk about the Yankees and I don't care what their payroll is. But I do just think that it's inevitable that either candidate will beat Talarico. And so I have come around, like you, to the idea that I have to vote for Paxton because I can't allow Cornyn to be the nominee. I've only been here a year, and I just can't do that because I think it's uniquely bad for the Conservative Party and for Texans in general.
No, I agree, man. And you know, when you look at the big picture of what's about to happen over the next 6 to 8 months, high likelihood you're going to have a new senator from Texas. You will have a new senator from Louisiana. Yeah. You will have a new senator from Alabama because Tommy Tuberville is running for governor. And you're going to have a new senator from Kentucky and North Carolina.
Yeah.
So those are guaranteed. That's not even including the possibility of a pickup in Michigan and a really, really tough defense of North Carolina, which will have a new senator as well.
Sure.
But that one's going to be a tough one with Roy Cooper, who's the Marxist candidate, the alleged moderate.
Yeah. Well, look, after Cassidy was the latest victim and everything that happened in Indiana and some other races, one thing that I've taken away from some of the results we're getting early on, Trump is incredibly more popular than any poll seems to say that he is, than anyone seems to believe that he is when you hear certain people talk about it. I mean, most of his endorsed candidates are winning these races and taking down some of the political establishment that frustrates so many people. So it seems impossible to believe anyone that's saying that, like, for this reason or that reason or whatever decision Trump has made, Iran, I don't care, that he's somehow less popular. It doesn't seem to be proving itself out, at least in these primary races.
Now, he did endorse Letlow, who was one of the folks that made it to the runoff in Louisiana. Although I think John Fleming is a much, much better candidate. I know that's who my brother and sister-in-law voted for.
Oh, nice.
He's the state treasurer there. And a lot of dirt came out at the end about Letlow and her husband, who's a big greenie-weenie lobbyist and whatnot. So that'll be interesting to see if Trump really goes through with this endorsement now that it's John Fleming and her.
Yeah.
I just think he wanted to get rid of Bill Cassidy, period.
I 100% think that that's true. Julie Letlow is who you're talking about that got the Trump endorsement in that race. Yeah. And June 27th is when we'll know who actually wins that one. So it's a little bit down the road now, but it's just, I think the more valuable takeaway, and this is at a national level or for people here in Texas when we look at a Louisiana race, whatever it might be, is what it actually says about the popularity of Trump with his base. Because I keep hearing people tell me that Trump is losing some of his base. And none of that ever winds up being true in any of these races. And I do think that will have an impact, especially if the Iran war ends, if gas prices go down before November. I think it'll all have an impact in potentially preventing any of those blue waves some people are predicting.
And I also heard the other caller at the end of the X show talk about the Mays Middleton Chip Roy race. And so what came out today, and where are you going with that one?
You know what's interesting is I've actually interviewed Chip Roy multiple times for other shows that I've been on, although it's been a while. Chip Roy is a guy that I kind of liked a certain number of years ago, and then some things that happened in the world with Chip Roy have confused me, say more than I wanted to be confused. And it's, as I said, maybe that's why it's been a bit. So I'm definitely leaning toward Mays Middleton, and I even talked to him off air when he called into the Amigos show for a few minutes, and that conversation further instilled a belief that he's the right guy for right now. But to be candid with you, there's audio of me filling in on some national shows where I'm interviewing Chip Roy from a few years ago, and I'm not challenging the guy much because I liked him more then than I do now.
And then how about this railroad race between Jim Wright and Beau French?
That's a good question. I don't know if that's the race that I feel is confident giving a whole bunch of advice on the air about. I do think that Beau French is branded better from what I've heard about it. I know he's called the MAGA conservative, a candidate backed by mega oil donors and whatnot. But I don't. It's tough for me to choose. Jim is a veteran, and a lot of times, or is he a veteran of just oil and gas? Is he actually a veteran, or am I getting that wrong? I might have had a prep sheet where
Okay. I think you're missing that. All I've heard is that he's an oil and gas guy.
He's a long oil and gas guy. Okay, yeah, no, I have a prep sheet for this, and I miswrote it because I circled it, but I was confused. So, yeah, no, I think that – where are you going with that? I think that Beau French might be the stronger candidate for a lot of people right now, but I'll admit this isn't a race I'm terribly up on.
Well, I know that Michael Berry, who still has a lot of influence, is in fact a big Beau French guy. I know the Amigos, and they seem to be leaning toward, as well as Lieutenant Governor Patrick and Governor Abbott behind Jim Wright. I've heard that Beau French said some inflammatory things here a few months ago at CTAC. I don't think, I believe either one of those candidates will defeat any Marxists that they're running up against.
Sure.
Just with an R behind their name. So I'm probably going to go Jim Wright on that one. But I was really curious about your Mays Middleton, MAGA Mays Middleton.
There you go. That's
and
right. Well, tell me, I didn't ask you, Jimmy X, where are you going with that? Because and this is when I wasn't in Texas, so I only had some periphery understanding of Chip Roy and some of the stuff that he'd go viral for before he started to say some of the anti-Trump things at times that he said. And there was a time where I thought he was a really great politician, and that has changed for me. I do think there have been enough moments of confusing rhetoric things. I still like some of the positions he takes on a certain number of issues. So it's interesting, but I think I just like MAGA Mays Middleton more.
I'm with you on that one 100%. I liked Chip Roy years and years ago, and then he kind of had a brain cramp there a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he did.
And said some really stupid things.
Yes.
And I just think, I think Mays Middleton might be a better choice there.
Yeah.
And the lady who called in, Pat and Tomball, God bless her, you don't have to be an attorney to be a judge either. Okay.
No.
So, the fact, and the fact that he did go to law school and he did graduate law school means he is in fact a holder of a Juris Doctorate, Pat, which means he is an attorney. Doesn't mean he ever practiced in a courtroom. It just means that he is an attorney.
Yeah.
He understands the law.
No,
so,
fair enough. I think you're right about that. Go ahead.
Last thing, the Republican Party is, tough day. I don't know if you heard over the weekend, but Bill Kristol announced he was officially registering as a Democrat. And I know that shocks you, but
yeah, I know it's a tough day. Yeah, tough day for 73-year-old Bill Kristol. Thank you very much.
Now, if he could have taken, I wish he'd have just taken Karl Rove with him, and it would have been a twofer. So.
I would love that. We could draft a couple guys to go with him. That would be amazing, man.
Hey, we'll give you Rove and Kristol. Go ahead and give us Fetterman, man. We'll take Fetterman.
We'll take Fetterman. And they can actually take Cornyn, too.
Oh, yeah, well, I think that vote's been cast, so.
Fair
all right,
enough.
brother. Take care.
All right. Thank you very much, Jimmy X calling in. I got one more caller, and then we'll try to take our first break. Caller, what's your name?
Hello, is it me?
Yes, it's you. What's your name, sir?
Hey, how's it going? Carlos?
Carlos,
I
nice.
was going to say about Ken Paxton. I'm not sure he can beat Crazy Rico, to be honest with you. Simple fact is he's trying to shut down the CBD business in Texas, and a lot of people are not happy with that.
Yeah.
Plus the fact that he does bring a lot of baggage with him. Personally, I don't like him. I'm voting Cornyn. Obviously, if Paxton wins, I'm going to vote for him. But personally, I don't think he can beat Talarico. He has a lot of baggage with him. He was found guilty.
Let me stop you for a second. I want, because I recognize your voice, Carlos. I just want the audience to know.
Yeah, but it's my throat. My throat is messed up. It's not that I'm faking my voice. I
want people listening to know what I know about you. I know that you've said that you're a long-time voter on the left, a long-time Democratic voter who's recently really lost
Before they went nuts.
Right. You've recently lost your connection to that party because they're insane and far left. And so now you find yourself not only voting conservatively, but trying to convince friends and family to vote conservatively as well, which I love. I am not terribly surprised, and I don't mean this as a negative, that a guy like you who voted on the other side for so long doesn't see the same issues that I see with Cornyn. I'm not terribly surprised in that, but there are certain issues, certain votes that Cornyn has done over the years, specifically when you're talking about gun rights, but there's a few other ones where he fails Republicans. He fails what I think is kind of a typical Texas Republican, not more of an independent, which I think you describe yourself as. And what I think would happen in the actual midterm election, because I understand your point about Paxton. Even Jimmy X said it. And Jimmy X is a conservative voter, not an independent like you. And I'm definitely a conservative voter. And I understand the baggage, although I will say that Paxton was, found to be innocent by the Texas Senate of a lot of the charges that weren't the infidelity stuff, that he certainly wasn't being charged with anyway to begin with, but any of the corruption things, he was found to not be guilty of that stuff by the Senate, and there was a pretty decent court case that happened there. But nonetheless, I don't believe that Talarico can beat anyone in Texas that has a shred of conservative ideology because of how crazy he is. Even you. I don't see how you would go vote for Talarico, or Talafrico as my cousin calls him, if it's him versus Paxton. And I think that's where the Republicans can win. And I'll say one other thing to you, Carlos, and then I'll let you jump back in too. There's a lot of voters that Trump did really well with. You're in one of those groups, but there's a lot of other ones. Young conservative men was another group of people. And I think a lot of the groups that Trump made inroads with also potentially would see Cornyn as more of the same. And some of those voters, I think, would sit out a midterm election, and that could be more devastating than anything else. I think we need to feel like we're transformative within the party, and Paxton is a more transformative candidate for Senate than Cornyn is, to say the very least. But I understand a lot of the points you're making. I just want to ask you, would you vote for Paxton if it was him versus Talarico?
Yes, obviously I would, because I said, the other party they just went nuts, right? And I would, but I don't think I'm not sure he can beat Talarico. That's the sad part, because I'm an independent, and if I had a better choice than Talarico, I would probably vote for that other person. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he can win independent voters.
Yeah, were you living in Texas?
I will, because
were you living in Texas for Beto O'Rourke?
Yes,
okay.
I was.
Okay, so Talarico is a lot of shades of Beto. Like, it feels very similar. And I know that race was fairly close, but Beto didn't win. Beto did not win Texas. And there are some things that Talarico has said are even farther crazier to the left than the stuff that Beto believed. And so I guess the real question to me will be, has the electorate changed? Because I've heard this talked about some places, people from California and other places moving to Texas. I moved from Illinois, although I'm absolutely a conservative, not a crazy person like the people I ran away from. But maybe there are more people here now that weren't here before that could vote for Talarico. I just don't see your typical Texan, not even a conservative or a Democrat, just your typical Texas values individual agreeing with several of the things that Talarico has said, which makes me believe that, I said this on the podcast I was filling in on, Carlos, I think a conservative chipmunk would beat Talarico in an election, because I just don't think you can vote for Talarico when it gets to that stage and you start to hear they haven't been doing all the campaigns bashing him yet because they're still fighting each other. But when those campaigns start really rolling out and Talarico is the true target of them, I don't know how Texas can put him in the Senate.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I hope so. Like I said, I'm still voting for Corwin no matter what.
Sure.
But if Paxton wins, obviously we're voting for him. But I'm gonna tell you one thing: I have a lot of family that votes Democrat here in Texas, and they are excited about that dude. I mean, they're calling anybody you can think of to get ready for November. So, like I said, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm wrong, and if Paxton's win, he's able to beat him, but I'm not sure.
No, and you said they're actually Democratic voters that are excited?
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're super excited about that dude. I even have a few arguments with them about it already, but they are super excited about that dude.
No, fair
so
enough.
I know they're going to bring it, so let's just hope Paxton or whoever, or Corwin, whoever gets to go against him, gets to beat him in November, because obviously I don't want him either.
Yeah. No, thank you for the call, Carlos. Thank you very much. So I will say this just about something that Carlos said, and something I've heard a lot of people say. It's not just Carlos. And I don't think that Jimmy X was really saying it as much either. I don't think Cornyn is a better shot to beat Talarico than Paxton. And I think it's because a whole lot of Republican voters, MAGA voters, whatever you want to call them in Texas, would actually sit out the actual election. I think there are people that would do that. If Cornyn is the nominee, I'm not one of those people. I think they exist. And I think there's a lot of reasons they exist. It's not just people that would be so angry they wanted to spite the Republican Party by allowing a Democrat like Talarico to potentially win this state. There are people that have that much passion for politics, I'm sure, but I actually don't believe a vast majority of people who don't show up in November, if that's what were to happen, would be angry. Well, they'd probably be angry, but angry enough to let that influence their actions. I just think they'd be disenfranchised. They wouldn't care. They'd think their vote didn't matter because they couldn't get Cornyn to not be the candidate in the first place, and they just assume whatever happens, it's all bad. I do think there are a lot of people who fall into that bucket in this state. I've only been here about a year, but I've certainly met some and talked to some and heard some on the radio that seem like they feel this way. So I think the more dangerous candidate to put forward, the weaker one, the one less likely to actually win in November, is actually Cornyn. It's actually the establishment candidate. I think that would cause a more seismic separation from conservative voter and midterm showing up and punching a ballot box human than we'd want to see. And I think Paxton would be a more exciting candidate. There's a lot of things Paxton can lean on that are good. There's a lot of things that are going to be tough. There's a lot of baggage. There's a lot of things that people like me, and it sounds like both the callers who called in don't like about some of Paxton's personal life. That's just true. It is what it is. But he has certainly been someone who's fought for what I believe to be Texas values time and again, and has an incredible record of winning those fights. And you kind of want people like that to be put into other positions of power. If Paxton can bring cases forward and win cases against Biden and other individuals time and again, and just find avenues to prevent some of the wokest, craziest, most awful stuff from ever happening here in Texas. I mean, look, I'll give you one example, and then I will take a break. What happened here in Harris County, the attempt for Democrats to try to stop working with ICE, to stop cooperating, to stop allowing ICE to say, hey, detain this individual so we can pick them up because there's someone we need. Democrats in Harris County went that road. Ken Paxton said, nuh-uh. And I think it's those kind of fights that matter. And it's those kind of fights that separate Texas and separate some other states like Florida in this country from the other places that vote Republican but don't actually live Republican on a day-to-day basis. So I do think that there's a significant difference between the things that'll be negative about Paxton and the things that'll be positive that he'll be able to use to demonstrate his differences, that to compare him favorably to Talarico. And no one's really targeting James Talarico yet. That's coming. And that will be, I think, devastating for that campaign when it starts happening. But all right, that was a lot of Texas chat. And thrilled that people called in and jumped in and were part of the show. I do have some Trump audio I want to play, quite a bit actually. So we'll take our first break. We'll come back. There's a couple Trump things that, again, I think he said today that I thought were really, really important. Some about election integrity. One of the biggest reasons that Cornyn is not endorsed by Trump is a lack of Cornyn's willingness to prevent certain election things or to step up when it comes to election integrity to make things better. And Paxton knew it. Paxton goes, go ahead and pass the SAVE Act, and I'll step down, and it didn't happen. So there are these moments that scream to you that part of what you think is happening, and it's probably the biggest reason why I think Talarico won't beat either guy, but why Cornyn will lose in the very near future. And I vote on Election Day, by the way. I'm not an early voter. I'm not encouraging you not to. Early voting is probably smart. It's probably better. You should probably do it, especially in a state like this that I think cares about election integrity. I still don't like doing it. So quick break, a lot more. It's the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
And what we do matters, and we know that taking the wrong road won't produce the best outcomes. Hi, I'm Kathy with Baker Mortgage, and we want you to take the right path when it comes to your mortgage. You know, we live in a world of information overload, but always consider the source. And these are not generally going to be from your big bank or a random offer that comes across your screen. Remember, you're always going to get a better deal on one that you go looking for than one that comes looking for you. You need to deal with somebody who gives a you-know-what, whether or not you're happy in the end. At Baker Mortgage, we do it right. We haven't been around for 68 years because we're lucky. We don't sell CDs, insurance, or anything else. We just provide a great mortgage experience. Isn't that what you're looking for? Call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
Hi, I'm Tommy Mello with Garage Door Doctors. My mom recently moved into a new home with a builder-grade garage door. Noisy, flimsy, and not built to last, so we're fixing that. Mom, you're my hero. When I was growing up, she worked 3 jobs just to save our house.
And helped you build this company.
Now I'm giving her a beautiful new garage door that's built to last. The garage is 40% of your home's curb appeal. When it looks good and it works great.
Life is good. Thanks, Tommy.
From repairs to upgrades, call Garage Door Doctor today.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate. Our country's founding fathers drafted a document that is the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. My friends at O'Hara & Company Real Estate, we believe we're at a precipice in time where we must take back our country. We must stand up for our freedoms or lose them forever. Please don't sit idle and let it slip away. Don't let anyone force you to do something you choose not to. As JFK said, if not us, who? If not now, when? If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, give O'Hara & Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393, 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. I'm Kevin O'Hara. God bless America, and God bless Texas.
This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. I'm trying to get this thing that I have to work and see if it does work. I got another caller on the line that I'll get to in a second. But I want to see if I can get this to actually, okay, I think this is actually going to work.
Now back to the greatest radio.
No, that's not right. That's supposed to be Trump's voice. That sounded like Casey Kasem or something. We'll fix that. AI voices is something I'm trying to cheat and do. Let's get to Dan in Missouri City. Dan, you're on the show. What do you want to say?
Yeah, hey, if you could just define what you meant by transformative, and I would recommend in Texas that you do vote early. I've been stuck in long lines on a Tuesday, so I don't do that.
What I mean by Ken Paxton is the more transformative voter or more transformative candidate than John Cornyn in the Senate. You want me to define that?
Yeah. What do you mean by transformative? He appeals to more people across more sections of demographics,
no,
or
I don't mean that.
He honors his word, or what?
Yes.
What does transformative mean?
Let's go with more of the second one. Let's also go with the idea that I think he'd have more support with people that are fed up with the political norms in our society. I think that, and look, I was a Wesley Hunt supporter, so I thought Wesley Hunt was an even more transformative candidate that didn't wind up getting into the runoff in the first place. But now that I'm stuck between the two options that at one point a few weeks ago, I kind of contemplated just sitting out the election entirely, mostly because I'm new to Texas. I've only been here about a year, but I feel that I'm informed enough now to make a decision in this race. And I just think that there's enough things that Cornyn has done, certain votes about gun rights specifically among them, that to me is the establishment candidate that I don't want to see anymore. I just don't want that type of politician in a political place of power, not in Texas per se, but anywhere. And so Paxton, to me, is a better option, a more likely option to that those moments where the vote is the hardest to do optically. Paxton will vote with MAGA conservatives or, whatever you want to call them, and Cornyn won't. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I've heard what you said, and Cornyn's just a snake. If 1 year before he gets reelected, then he shows up and does border ads and does all this stuff. And regardless of his voting record, he acts as if that doesn't matter and everybody's going to forgive him. And yeah, he does backroom deals, and as you witnessed around a year ago or 8 months ago. And so, yeah, I like Paxton for all the reasons that you do. And, he's proven himself. Paxton and Trump do good things for everybody.
Yes.
Not just for their base or something.
Yeah.
We just have to fight all the lies. There's a lot of lying going on.
There is, and there's a lot of votes that people might not pay attention to where Cornyn does fail. Like Cornyn does, and I think that every single one of those votes where I see something that I wish had gone a different way, the argument Cornyn would make is he would say he didn't think it was going to be popular with the American people. And oftentimes it's just not popular with John Cornyn, or it's not popular with whatever version of individual he cares about that's not Texas. Because there's a lot of times that I think he doesn't vote with Texas conservatives and Texas Republicans, and that to me matters more. If you're with me 60% of the time, but it's the weak 60, I don't actually see that as being a person who really represents my values. I see that as being more aligned with a John Fetterman than actually with a Republican.
Yeah, there's too many people presenting themselves as GOP, and you find out later they're not.
Yeah.
Rhino or whatever, or vice versa. There's, like that lady from Alaska that's just been a Dem, and she calls herself a Republican for why, I don't know. I don't know why she does.
Yeah.
It just messed up the whole Senate. They got to stop that 60 vote requirement.
Sure.
In the Senate.
I agree with you, too. I think the filibuster has to go away. I think it will go away. Anyone that tells you that they're worried about it going away because they think Democrats will misuse the power once they're in a position to have the majority, they're going to do away with the filibuster when they have that anyway. Like, I think that this is an inevitable thing, and I would like to be at the forefront of it to wield some power of it, even if we're running out of time. We should have gotten rid of the filibuster a year ago. That should have been one of the first things we did when Trump got back in office, and it didn't happen. And so now we're going to struggle in a way that I wish we weren't going to struggle. But it is what it is. I still think it should go away. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, maybe they're just trying to time it so it goes away, as X22 report says, right before the Dems can't do much about it before the midterms. And then the final 2 years of Trump will be fine and dandy.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised if soon is actually in Trump's hip pocket because I don't like Thune. I think he's more corny, but perhaps he's playing coy for that purpose.
Who knows? That's a good call and a good point, Dan. I don't know if I agree with it, but I can see where you're coming from on it. I also don't like Thune. I think Thune has been weak. I think that's the easiest way to describe it. I know that Chris Salcedo, our morning show host, would say that it's not America first. It's America last. It's themselves first. It's whatever version of I don't actually care about the people of Texas. But I think it's actually also weak. There's a lot of people in politics who are just these weird, self-obsessed versions of people that care so much about certain things. I mean, you're seeing it with people like Marjorie Taylor Greene now, who are so much more interested in trying to reinvent herself and at the same time alienate all the people that liked her a short time ago and all the crazy things she says now to try to be some sort of a random, sudden leftist on certain issues. And I think that those people will fail. But there's a lot of people like that who, whenever they notice that the party that they think that they're popular with starts to dislike them, they'll just immediately flip and change because it's more about them than anybody else. And I think Cornyn is absolutely a politician like that, too. All right, we're running out of time. Thank you to everybody who called in. I don't think I've even given out the phone number once in the show, but thank you so much to everyone who jumped in and participated. I do want to play some of this Trump audio because I do have it, and I do think it's interesting, and it's about election integrity specifically, and then also about Trump doing a press conference that included Mark Cuban, which is odd because Cuban has at times said not so nice things about Trump. But darn it, that's a lot of the people in Trump's orbit sometimes. I mean, look at the vice president. There are people that say bad things, and Trump doesn't seem to care. If you're useful to him now, he'll be nice to you when you're useful to him. Here's a little bit of what the president said about election integrity, though.
So on election integrity, so a lot of Republicans, including you, are speaking out against a massive mail-in ballot era in Maryland.
Yeah, terrible.
How concerned are you about election integrity as Americans are heading into the midterms?
I'm very concerned about it. I'm very concerned about mail-in ballots. We're the only country in the world that's doing mail-in ballots, and a mail-in ballot is, by just the nature of it, it's going to be corrupt. So many people handle it. You go into a well-run voting booth in a certain state, we'll pick a state, but you go into, and I mean, they look, even me, I went in Florida and went to vote, and they said, "Sir, I hate to do it. I'm so embarrassed. Could I see your identification?" I said, "Really? Do you really want to do that?"
Yeah.
"Please, sir."
That's awesome.
"I'll lose my job if I don't do it." I was very proud to hand her identification and everything else. I mean, you want to have proof of citizenship. You want to have a voter ID.
Yes.
You want to have all these things. But to me, maybe the worst of all is the mail-in ballots where they come in. So, as you know, in Maryland, 500,000 fake ballots were sent out. When they were caught, they said, "Oh, we'll pull them back." And they issued 500,000 new ballots. And as you know, they never got the original ballots back. So there are 1 million ballots out there. Many of them went to Democrats. And
there shouldn't be 1 million out there, Mr. President. I agree with you. I think that is true. I think there's a lot of reasons to be skeptical of the legitimacy of mail-in ballots. People will tell you that there's none, that it's 100% secure. How dare you? And yet you do see video of what seems to be ballot harvesters, which actually is legal in some states. Coming from a state where it was legal to harvest ballots was crazy. But Illinois, that's something you can do. And if people don't know what that word or phrase means, it means like you show up at a retirement home, you hand out a bunch of ballots, you take them all at the end, and you go put them all in the ballot box yourself. So at one point, a single individual is holding a ton of ballots that they're dropping into a mailbox alone. And we can all see how some fraud could happen there, how some things could be changed, some items could be whoops-a-daisied over here the minute that one person is holding something alone. But I remember it was Ron DeSantis who gave a speech in Illinois when he was running for president before Trump resoundingly defeated him. And Trump didn't even have to fight him. That was the craziest thing. I don't talk about that often, but the fact that Trump didn't even have to debate any of the people, including DeSantis, said a lot more about Ron DeSantis than it did about President Trump in the actual legitimacy of his candidacy. But I remember when he spoke in Illinois, one thing that DeSantis said is you got to fight fire with fire. And so if in this state ballot harvesting is legal, conservatives should consider doing it. And it just seems so opposed to his values, Ron DeSantis's, to my values, to a lot of people's values, but he's not wrong. If states are going to make a thing legal, you might have to fight fire with fire, and I don't think you win in Illinois, and that's why people think ballots there or voting there is corrupt. And I think President Trump is right about that outside of, say, veterans, there doesn't seem to be a lot of legitimate needs for people to mail in their ballots. I think a lot of people could figure out a way to vote. I think certain maybe health conditions might cause some people to need mail-in balloting, but not as much as need it right now. And it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to be as valuable of a way to vote as so many people use it. It's one of the things that makes the counting of the election itself difficult, and it shouldn't be difficult. This should be easier than the Powerball. This should be easier than the Mega Millions to decide who our president is. We can't seem to do that. One other piece of audio, then I do have to take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll do some silly stuff before the end of the show. But I thought this was interesting. President Trump was asked about Mark Cuban being on a stage with him.
It's pretty remarkable seeing you and Mark Cuban up there, and the fact that obviously Mark endorsed Kamala Harris back in 2021.
Well, he made a mistake. It was a big mistake.
What does this say about what you two are building here?
Well, it says we love people. We love our country. He's got a good company, and he's going to do a lot of business with this. And I'm going to get drugs out through Amazon, through the whole group, and we're going to get drugs out. And Mark wanted to be a part of it.
Look, this is the thing about Trump that people who hate him refuse to talk about because they don't like this about him. Trump is willing to work with people who even at some point seem like they personally have Trump derangement syndrome. J.D. Vance, again, an example I use often when I talk to people about this, because if you want to get stuff done, now granted, I don't think you empower the people as much as maybe President Trump did in his first term. I think in the second term, he has avoided having people that really, truly don't want to do what he wants to do in positions of actual power. But nonetheless, I think that if you want to get things done, you work with some people you might not agree with or like as much as some people on the other side of the aisle. So this is that in play. All right, we got to take a break real quick. We'll come back and we'll do the top four, or the quick four-ish. These are sillier topics that I often enjoy to talk about before we end the show because, darn it, you can't do serious all day long. But thank you to everybody who called in to make this show very Texas, I felt like, outside of the end there, when Trump is also talking about something very important that will matter a lot here in Texas, although we do well with integrity. And then also I think the changes in the amount of costs of a whole lot of medicine will cause a lot of people to be very happy, even as gas prices are still horrible. But all right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll have a little fun before we get out of here. It's the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
If you have roof problems, you can sure see them when it rains. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing. If you see a leak, call me immediately, 281-251-0304. I'll send over the Tejas Roof Repair truck.
That truck has everything our experienced crew needs to fix your roof, right then and there.
The Tejas Roofing crew has been working together fixing leaky roofs for 15 years.
It's not a pretty truck, but it has everything we need to get the job done. I kind of like the way it looks.
Most roofing repairs cost less than $500. Why? Because we find the cause of the leak and repair that leak. We won't try to sell you services you don't need.
And we'll fix it right away because everything we need is in our truck.
Don't put off fixing a leaky roof. Call me at Tejas Roofing and I'll send over the truck. 281-251-0304. When you think of roofing repairs or a new roof, think Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
A breast cancer diagnosis can turn your world upside down. But your Houston Methodist team assures you they'll use the latest cancer research and technologies, collaborating to treat and remove the tumor and reconstruct your breasts, restoring symmetry, sensation, and your sense of self. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it for you. Houston Methodist, leading medicine.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Usually they happen on the weekends, holidays, or while you're away on vacation. I'm Richard Saad, president of Nick's Plumbing. When you find yourself facing a plumbing emergency, call the licensed and experienced professionals at Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services. Nick's Plumbing has been Houston's first choice for all your plumbing needs since 1979. Our experts can take your most difficult plumbing issues and fix them fast, fix them right, and usually for less than you'd expect. Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services is the right choice for any plumbing job, from a leaky faucet whole house repipe, or a complete sewer line replacement. You can count on Nick's Plumbing to do the job right. With over 40 years in business and over 150,000 satisfied customers, Nick's wants to be your plumbing company. Nick's Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nicksplumbing.com.
NPL 38548.
Call Nick's Plumbing today. We're on the way.
This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. A lot of stuff to get to, just a little bit time left to do that stuff before you have to get out of here. I call this the quick four-ish. These are lighter topics, more fun topics to talk about before we actually go home for the day. The fastest hour in radio, the Craig Collins Show. I think this show, my show, is. 21% of people never lock the bathroom door, even when guests are over. This is at home. This isn't insanity of not locking something if you're out in public somewhere. But I saw this and I thought it was kind of odd, or let's call it really odd, because if you have guests over, if you have people over, maybe if you're over somebody else's house, you feel like that'd be an obvious thing to do when you walk into the restroom. But 21% of people say they never do it. Now, I guess I have a somewhat awkward thing that I will say in response to this that I have been amused by for years now, and my wife will not be thrilled that I'm saying on the radio, but it's true. If my wife goes to the restroom for any reason, it doesn't even have to be to use it for the purpose it's there for. It could be like a makeup thing, like doing her hair thing. The doors are shut and I'm not allowed in. That's been a rule of my marriage for a long time. If Betty is in use of the bathroom in any way, shape, or form, Craig is left outside. And I have to like claw at the door like a cat that wants to be let inside if I want to use. I'm kidding about that. But that is the rule. If I am in the bathroom for any reason, the bathroom is allowed to be wide open. And Betty will come in. She'll be talking to the mom on the phone. She'll elbow me and go, okay, that's probably also not true. But I've been amused by that. I've learned that. That is my wife, of course, that is different than the insane people who are doing this, say, when you have guests over or anything else. But I've learned that as a married man, there's at least one human being who none of these rules apply to, and that's the missus. But that's a one-way street. That's not a two-way street. So for some reason, I was uniquely kind of amused by this story for that reason. But other than that, I don't know. I don't understand so much of this. I think my wife just texted me. I'm not sure that she's happy. Really, husband? Yes, my wife just texted me. Really, husband? Betty, you know, it's true. Like, you're not going to lie and say it's not true. All right? You're going to admit that this is a real thing, an actual thing that happens. That if you're in the restroom, it's like Fort Knox has been shut down. But if I'm in there, it's about as open as, I don't know, spring break kind of thing. All right, other topics so I don't get in more trouble with the missus. I saw this. I thought this was funny. And I don't understand this one either. So I'll just throw it out there. It's a little adult in nature. So a warning that this is somewhat of an adult topic, I guess, like the last one was. A recent vote in Vogue magazine has found more and more women claim that they're attracted to, and they describe this as male cleavage. I think what I would describe that as is pecs. But more and more women are saying that if you're a dude who's in good shape, and if you wear like a shirt that shows off the muscular top end of the body, apparently women are saying this is attractive. I don't know if this is a new thing. To be honest, I don't usually keep up to date on the stuff about dudes that people say is attractive. That's not usually a topic I'm focused on. But a prep service that I use to come up with silly topics for the show gave me this topic, and I read it multiple times to try to understand what I was reading and if this is really a change or not. They're saying that, like, in fashion and other places that, certain people are showing off more and more than they did before. I've never been a dude, even when I was in pretty decent shape, which at times in my life, regardless of what you see on the social media stream, has been true. There's been times in my life when I was in pretty good shape. I've never been a dude that wore those kind of weird shirts, those strange things that some people wear, like the low-cut thing on a dude. It just makes no sense to me. It's odd for several reasons that I think you can figure out. But I guess they're saying it's popular. So if you're someone listening to this radio show who's trying to attract women and you're not sure how to get that done, what you should do to do it, apparently one road you could potentially go if you're in good shape is a road with a shirt that looks like it's made for a chick and not for a dude. All right, one other topic that I saw out there that I thought was silly. Tom Cruise might be dating Pamela Anderson. This is a topic that comes on the heels of other people that Pamela Anderson may or may not have dated at this stage in her life. Of course, if you know who that person is, you know at one point she was considered to be the most attractive girl on the planet. Certainly not a person that I think was morally aligned with a lot of people out there. But now she's someone who goes out without wearing makeup. Pamela Anderson, the human, looks very, very different today than she looked a certain number of years ago. And for some reason is making more and more news about the people she's potentially dating, whether that's Liam Neeson, Tom Cruise, as I said a second ago. I don't care who celebrities date, but I will tell you I'm amused that these stories are coming out more, and it seems like they're coming from pro-feminist places who want to celebrate that Pamela Anderson, having been someone that has kind of abandoned everything that she might have been at a point earlier in her career as an activist or whatever. They're celebrating her more. It's almost like a you go girl kind of thing. And I just find that amusing because these same individuals who might be happy and celebrating who Pam Anderson is dating today also probably hated her in the 90s. These are the same people that thought that she should go away. She shouldn't be on any TVs or interviewed by Jay Leno or anyone. They would have hated everything about her. And now they're championing her because she's gotten to a point where she's not as, I think, traditionally attractive, if that's the right way to say it, as she was before. And she doesn't care about any of that stuff. And probably not even traditionally. She was enhanced in a lot of ways. But nonetheless, I just thought it was kind of funny that for some reason this story is making the news, I think, in a very, very different way. And then, all right, one last thing out there as far as silly topics go before we get out of here. Dozens of empty Waymos have invaded a cul-de-sac for hours with no riders at all. They all met up in a cul-de-sac in Atlanta. The video went viral. It shows a ton of Waymos. These are remote piloted vehicles, all deciding they needed to congregate in a remote place. I don't know if they were resetting themselves, downloading some sort of additional thing, but it's really odd. It's Terminator 2 type of odd to watch and see. The amount of machines getting together and probably communicating with each other, who knows what they're doing, but just sitting there and waiting for some version of, the update. I'm assuming it's an update. That's what I think, as someone who kind of likes technology, would make the most sense, that the program told it to find a secure remote location to update itself before getting back on the road, and all the cars in the area chose the same cul-de-sac, because that's computer thinking, by the way. They'd all park next to each other and be like, yeah, this is what we're doing. This is how we figure this out. So it's amusing and it's terrifying. I'm going to go with both of those. All right, that's the whole show. Thanks so much to everybody for listening. Thanks to everybody who called in. It's Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. See you tomorrow, everybody.
You're listening to the Voice of Texas, AM 700 KSEV Tomball, and AM 1540.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. 2 teenage suspects killed 3 men in a shooting at a San Diego mosque Monday before killing themselves a few blocks away.